Hello and welcome to another episode of the Informal Podcast. Today I'm here with my co-host Chase. Chase, how's it going?
I'm good, just staying inside for the quarantine.
Yep,
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And we're here with our special guest today, my uncle, Bob Blaskiewicz. How's it going?
Took you a second to remember my name there.
Yeah, I'm usually used to calling you my uncle, so
Yeah, just Uncle Bob. Yeah, that's fine.
Uncle Bob.
Yeah,
So-
no, I'm doing good. I'm under the same quarantine that you guys are. So this is something different.
Yeah. So I guess just really quick, tell everyone who you are exactly.
Okay, so I'm Bob Blaskiewicz. I am an assistant professor of critical thinking and first year studies at Stockton University. I live in South Jersey, just outside Atlantic City. My students are usually first year, so that these are kids who are just getting used to college.
Mhm.
And I teach a lot of classes that prepare them for doing research and prepare them for writing college level papers. That's basically what I do.
So, I guess I can start off with saying. So you said you work at Stockton University.
Yep.
How is that? How long have you been there, and how do you like it there?
I like it a lot. I've been there for this is my 5th year, and I've spent a good deal of time teaching all cool classes, everything that I'd want to teach. I teach I teach the first year classes about extraordinary claims. These are critical thinking classes about ghosts and psychics, and conspiracy theories are my specialty. Then I've been doing writing classes, like business writing. I've been teaching writing about the sciences, writing and then science and pseudoscience, which is science and fake science. And then this other class that I've been doing for the last couple semesters, World War II movies. I just have so much fun. I get to design and teach the classes I wish I could have taken in college.
So, So you said that you were at Stockton University for 5 years, but you switched from college to college before, right?
Yeah. So the job market for somebody in my field. So I got my PhD in English. So I studied American literature. And there's, if you teach English, or you've been in enough English departments, you've been an English department graduate student, you teach a lot of freshman writing, a lot of first year writing. And there's always a demand for it because there are always new freshmen coming in, and they need to take their writing classes, right? They need to get up to speed. And so there's always demand. So I went from St. Louis University. Then I went to Georgia Tech. I was there for 3 years. In Atlanta, and then I was out at University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, which is like in a cornfield. And it was seriously, it was like it. There was just nothing. There was actually a tractor salesman, like a tractor sales, down the street for me, and cows.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was rural.
Was it a small college?
It was it's a middle sized college, state school. I've only worked at state schools since I got my degree, and then I came here to New Jersey, and it's really nice, except for the explosive coronavirus up north.
Yeah.
But no, I really like this. This is a small school, liberal arts school, so they have a variety of classes that you can take and majors. You can, everything from the humanities, which is like history and literature and philosophy and those types of classes, arts, business, education, and social sciences like psychology or sociology. And then they have the sciences as well. We've got a really good program about marine biology because we are I'm not 2 miles from the ocean right now at my house. So we have a great marine biology program, and we're in the middle of the Pinelands, which is the rumored home of the Jersey Devil.
Oh, hold on. What do you think about that? Real or fake?
The Jersey Devil.
Yes.
The Jersey Devil is a great story, and yeah, it's not real,
Yeah.
but it was a story that kind of so the idea is that Mother Leeds uh gave birth to like her 13th child, and she cursed it for whatever reason, right? And it so when it was born, it came out and it had like wings, and it looked like your like a kangaroo had sex with a goat or something, and it was just like this weird monster baby with wings. And uh but it turns out if you go back, there's nobody who would answer to the name Mama Leeds. It's not a real person. There is a Leeds family, and there are lots of buildings buildings and roads named after the Leeds family. I believe one of the Leeds was the first mayor of Atlantic City. Um, but this is an imaginary person. So this is just a local bit of folklore. It got really kind of crazy in around the turn of the 20th century. There was a kind of the era of big hoaxes, um, and P.T. Barnum had come and like shown people that it's profitable to lie to people, and they'll like it when you lie to them. And there had these dime museums, and someone decided to resurrect the old Jersey Devil story, so they actually got a kangaroo and glued wings to it and put it on display at this weird, curiosity museum in Philadelphia. And so that kind of set it up for the next century. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the Jersey Devils are the name of the Air Force wing, the National Guard Air Force wing down the road from us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
It was pretty cool. Chase, do you have any question about Stockton or anything?
I actually have a question about your classes that you've taught throughout the years, and you've taught countless because, to be completely honest, you have literally you have taught more classes than I have even seen in my school. And it's so interesting to me because you sound like you love your job so much, but I want to know, which class do you find the most enjoyment out of teaching? Like, which one did you just love more than others, if there is any?
yeah. Okay. Sometimes when you have a student who comes in who's not prepared for college, and you get them to where they need to be, that's super rewarding, right? Like that's a good feeling. However, I really have a lot of fun when I'm teaching my science and pseudoscience classes. And every so often, because we're a public university, and this is important, one of the roles that the public university has in society is to allow everybody to speak, let everybody present their views, and then the experts at the university kind of go through it, and we make sure that our students have a well-rounded education, that they've talked to everybody, right? And that includes bullshitters. Like, so every so often we have this like holistic health, crystals and yoga kind of stuff that they show up. It's a health fair, but it's not real medicine.
Yeah.
And I love taking my students to the presentations, and then like I prep them. So like if we had a psychic, um, which we did one year, we had a psychic who was doing cold readings, and I explained how you pretend to be a psychic. I explained how you do, and my students, when they realized the tricks that were being used, and when they recognized them, they were like, "Oh," and they could see it, and that
Yeah.
was exciting.
You
I
see
like
right through it.
showing them the matrix code, basically, is what I'm doing. So
Alright. So, but your pseudoscience one, you say you talk about conspiracy theories, though.
mhm.
Okay, so I have some conspiracy theories, like really quickly. Try to like debunk them in like the simplest form, okay?
Okay,
Um,
okay.
ghost and paranormal.
Well,
Like,
not a conspiracy theory. Okay, and let me explain. Conspiracy theory doesn't just mean weird thing, right?
Okay.
That's an extraordinary claim. right? Is something that's like going to take extraordinary evidence to prove it. But when it comes to ghosts, a conspiracy theory involving ghosts is like the government is covering up the existence of ghosts, right? Like that means that there are a small number of people who are doing something bad in secret. That's a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Paranormal and ghosts. Even if there was a world where we knew that there was no such thing as ghosts, people would still have confusing experiences that they would think were ghosts.
Okay.
That's the first. Yeah.
Okay. Chase, do you have any conspiracy theory really quick?
Are there any conspiracy theories that you have looked at countless times and you can't decide which ones? Like, you just can't debunk them completely?
Well, I don't think you can ever debunk something completely, because if you're honest, you have to be open to the fact that you could be wrong. And even if it seems like something like, something that's like really super wrong, like the government caused 9/11 to happen. Like that's one that's been around for almost 20 years now. And I know enough that I can have criteria that I would need in order to start thinking about it again, right? Like if you can convince the engineers who are editors of one of the more important journals of engineering, and they say, okay, yeah, there's something here, then I will pay attention again, right? Like, so I'm not closed-minded. I just have standards.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
Is there any aliens in Area 51?
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
It's
follow-up question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you go. Oh,
No, go
follow-up question. Have you seen any aliens by any chance?
I have seen UFOs. Why I would think that they're aliens, though?
The men in black are gonna show up at your doorstep.
Good. I want to interview them. Bring it on.
Maybe we can get the men in black on this podcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the UFO that I saw was this wild thing. I was about your age, Shane, and the whole family had gone to the lake for a weekend or something, and I would bring my telescopes and my binoculars because they have really dark skies, and I loved astronomy. And so I was down there at the Lake of the Ozarks on the shore, looking up right after sunset. And the way that the lake is a man-made lake, and so it's surrounded by hills. They put a dam up somewhere, and it filled up this basin with lake water. And so you're surrounded by hills. And right after sunset, I was looking up and I saw this triangle made of flashing lights silently going overhead. And like my heart leapt into my throat, and I was like, I am so going to betray the human race. It's over. I pick sides, right? Okay, so, but I had my binoculars with me. And when I looked at them through the binoculars, I saw that what I thought were flashing lights, it wasn't a triangle. It was a V. I had connected the dots. It turned out it was geese.
Oh.
The flashing lights, they were flying very high up, so I couldn't hear them. And the flashing lights was their white bellies as they spread their wings. They were catching the light of the setting sun. They were so high up, and they were shining back down really brightly. And so it was completely convincing. Like if I didn't have my binoculars with me, I would have been, the next, party I went to, I would have said, "You guys, I saw a UFO," right? Like, and so you don't have to be, if it hadn't been for the fact that I had my binoculars there, the next time I saw that, which I did do, I could be excused for thinking that they were following me, or to start looking for evidence that I've been abducted or something like that. The people who believe weird things are you and me. They're just like us. They're not stupid. They're not, dumb. They're they're just folks. We all believe something strange, you know.
What do you think are the most the most believable conspiracy theories?
The most believable conspiracy theories. Well, I would say that, and this is kind of like a subtle point that a lot of people won't care about. But I'm not sure that any conspiracy theory can be proved true necessarily. It's because I consider conspiracy theory to be an unfounded belief that a small number of people are doing big evil things in secret, right? So it's unsupported. Mm-hmm. What conspiracy theorists do when they're exploring an issue, they do something that's very similar to what journalists do. They do something that's very similar to what historians do. So you can have a journalistic hunch, but you have to be willing to take the evidence, to follow the evidence wherever it goes. Mm-hmm. So, if you're talking about like Richard Nixon and Watergate, right? It was Woodward and Bernstein. They had their ideas that this might be a big deal, that this break-in at the Watergate would be, and they followed the evidence, and they looked for where the money came from, and they interviewed a hell of a lot of people, mm-hmm. and it shook out. Something was there. A conspiracy theorist will start with the conclusion that Nixon was corrupt, and then they will just find whatever evidence it takes to pile it on. Yeah. So what you have, a journalist draws conclusions based on evidence. A conspiracy theorist picks evidence based on their pre-designed and desired conclusion. Right? Okay. So they kind of backfill with whatever evidence they think they can make fit.
Yeah. So, I guess, really quick. So, you have a kind of like podcast.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, you did. So, what was that?
So that was the Virtual Skeptics. We did that for 6 years. It was me and 3 friends who would get together just about every week, and we talk about the weird news of the week. And it was really nice when we were living out in Wisconsin and there was like nobody around to talk to but the aforementioned cows. It was nice to have other humans to talk to once a week. So we did that, and it was like an hour-long show, and we'd all do a story. It was fun.
Yeah, you got to 220 episodes.
Yeah, it was a serious endeavor.
What made the stop? Were you guys just not really feeling it anymore, or what?
It wasn't that we weren't feeling it. Things happen. There were 2 of the people involved got married to people who were not involved, so they had other responsibilities. Life moves on, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. Okay. And we're all still friends, and every time they get married, we'll attend. You know. So yeah, it's just it just happened.
Okay.
It had a good run.
While recording this podcast, we forgot to include our ad and go for ad break. So enjoy this ad, and we'll be right back.
Chase, you want to ask a question or start up a new topic?
So, with this whole pandemic...
Hey, it's Shane from the Informal Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Chase. What's up?
Hey guys, it's me, Chase. We're here to talk about our sponsor, Anchor.
What's Anchor? Well, I'm so glad you asked, random person. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's completely free, and there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, if you want to start a podcast now, make sure to download the free Anchor app on your phone or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
I gotta use Anchor!
Bye.
Pandemic going on. I have an understanding that most classes are doing Zoom. Are you doing that right now?
Yeah. I started a little bit earlier than my colleagues. because I'm a hypochondriac. I checked my Twitter feed, and I started talking about the virus around February 20th. And it was at that point that I was just like, this is going to be bad. I need to start preparing. So I started like buying a little bit of hand sanitizer every time I went out, or, and started stocking up. So I'm good for months, right?
That's good.
Yeah. But I also started preparing my classes. So I made sure that all my students had Zoom on their devices and that they could use it. I made sure that they had there's an app called GroupMe that we use. It's a chatting app that I like to have in a class. It just keeps us connected. I made sure that they were all able. So what I did about 2 weeks before everything closed down, I had them. I administered a quiz via Zoom. So they had to Zoom in, and they had to answer it in GroupMe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the proof of concept that I could get them all to use it. So yeah, we have most classes, and I suspect that's going to go on. People don't like talking about it, but I think the fall is kind of going to happen like that. Maybe even the spring.
How long do you think the pandemic will last for until people can start hanging out and stuff?
Yeah, I think it will last until we have a vaccine, or we can track and we can diagnose and trace early. Mm-hmm. So the world record for developing a vaccine is 4 years.
Oh wow, that's
so far. That was the mumps vaccine, took 4 years to develop. I think right now, within a month, we had the genetic sequence of the virus, and within 2 months we had the first trials of vaccines going on. There's some, as I understand it, we have vaccines for other coronaviruses for animals. So it looks like it's a vaccinable disease. Mm-hmm. That's encouraging, the type of thing that we might be able to make a vaccine for. And we have that head start with all of these different vaccines. So we'll see what happens. I think that they will pull out all the stops because we're looking at really a generation-defining disaster. Yeah. I mean, we have 10 times as many people died already as in 9/11.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I mean, yeah.
Actually, this next question, my dad kind of mentioned this to me and said I should ask something like this. So basically, right now in the world, there are people protesting their right to go outside and not obeying social distancing laws. And from what I see, they are believing conspiracy theories that the government is making them stay inside, but it's going to destroy the economy. People who are making them stay inside want to destroy the economy. So what do you think about that? And is there any way to quickly debunk that at all?
Not for them. It's a matter of it's a belief for them, right? And a belief comes with this feeling, this emotion of having knowledge. But you can feel like you have knowledge and be wrong, right? But there's nothing more certain than knowing something, but that's still just a feeling, right? So to explain it to them, they won't care. They're like any, like someone who's devoutly religious, whose their faith is bulletproof, right? Nothing can get through, so you don't even try, right? But yeah, I think it's it's a difficult position. You want people to be able to petition the government, because that's a right that we have, right? You don't want to restrict speech. But these people are supremely selfish, in that they are not considering that other people might not want to die of coronavirus.
Yeah.
So go ahead and gather and protest. We'll just put you in a barn or something and keep you away from everyone. But it's really like I saw someone well, this parachute is slowing me down. We might as well cut it. You're just like, no,
No.
it's not over till it's over, man. And that's gonna be a while.
Yeah. So, Chase, you got any questions around this topic?
Yes, I do actually. So this Zoom class, I always feel like people would have a better connection in real life. Do you think that people will appreciate going to school more now that this is happening and they'll have more opportunities to talk to the teachers?
I think so. I think it's going to highlight a lot of the stuff that is, that the one-on-one kind of discussion, like the best conversations and the best teaching sessions that I have are one-on-one with students, right? Like where I'm, just talking with them in my office or whatever. And if you're going to miss that, and the other stuff is interacting with other students and with groups on campus, right? All of that is going to be missing. I think the classes will be just as rigorous. We're going to be reading all the same stuff in my war class, for instance. I have the same assignments that I want them to do. My classes are a little shorter because students' attentions can wander online, right? That you've got about half an hour and 45 minutes if you're funny. That's about it. So the classes will be shorter, but I do think that people will recognize that something is missing from their college experience or from their school experience.
I've seen online on YouTube countless amount of times, like any social media I go on, I see this. There's lots of clips of people annoying their professors and teachers and putting fake pictures on Zoom or whatever. Have you had these experiences at all, or is your class just amazing in that way that they?
I'm the one who's putting up the fake backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's that. My favorite one was the first week that we started. And have you ever seen the meme of the dog sitting in the house that's on fire, going, "This is fine"?
No, I've not.
You haven't seen that one?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a dog sitting in basically a dumpster fire, and
oh wow, that's good.
Yeah. There was nothing there. They took out the dog, and I just sat there in the flame, right? Like, also when I had my first one from home, I put up a picture of a wall of skulls from the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, which is a medical oddity museum. And so they had this wall of just skulls. And I was like, yeah, this is my office. Yeah. Don't cheat.
or else you're going to be put here.
Yes. So, yeah. But I haven't had any problem. The one thing that I miss, I know that students are paying attention because they're participating in the chat. But I find it a little disconcerting that I can't see them all. I can get most of them on the screen at the same time, but they have to turn on their cameras, and some of them don't want to turn on their cameras, and I just have to live with that. I have a couple who I see and interact with in more or less in a regular kind of. It feels a little more classroomy, but you have all those blank squares on Zoom, and you just have to trust that they're there.
Yeah.
When I end the class, it's always fun because they're like 2 or 3 squares that don't close. Who knows where they are, right? Like
they could be anywhere at this point. But
exactly.
they're at home. They're in their home.
They're at home.
Yeah.
So.
I guess we could talk about this on an earlier podcast. Me and Chase talked about music and how Chase is learning guitar, and I want to get into music production. And from what I hear, you have guitars of your own. Have you ever tried to make something?
Make something out of my guitars?
Yeah, like a quick song or like a melody.
Yeah. I mean, so I have a kind of a fleet of guitars. I have like 12-string guitar. I have a Rickenbacker. I have a couple of different Fenders. I have a 1978 Fender Strat, which is just a massive battle axe. It's huge. And I really like sound effects too. I love digital delay. It just makes me so happy.
Okay.
And yeah, I have recorded covers of songs just to do it. I can't sing, but I have a lot of fun just playing along to the stuff that I like. I think that playing guitar makes me appreciate how hard it is, what some people are doing when you listen to them on the radio.
Yeah.
I appreciate it a lot more. And if you're looking into music production, have you guys ever seen Rick Beato's stream?
Rick Beato's. I do not.
Beato.
No, I do not. I've seen I see Deadmau 5 because he's a music producer.
So is Rick, and
Okay.
he's the way he talks about audio production. He makes things jump out at you. So what he does these like reviews of these, what makes this song great, and he plays all the stems, right? And so you get to hear all of the different audio tracks, and then he mixes them in his studio, and you can hear them in isolation from one another. And he has a perfect ear, as far as I can tell. He's really good.
Okay.
And he's really enthusiastic about it, which makes a good teacher.
I would have to check that out.
Rick Beato.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. I just today actually ordered a. Do you know what a MIDI keyboard is?
Yeah, MIDI. Yeah.
Yeah, MIDI. I ordered one today, because I want to try something, and I'm probably gonna get software if I can actually use the MIDI keyboard, right? So I spend my money on the MIDI keyboard, and I've also been learning piano, but I don't know what. Do you know anyone or anything of what software anyone uses?
I have no idea.
No idea?
I mean, what I had was I had a little unit that let me run the output of my whole setup into a Mac, and then I use GarageBand to mix everything. That's what I used, and it's a pretty basic setup. I don't have anything that's as complicated as a MIDI mixer or anything like that.
I have a free trial that lasts forever on this one thing, but you can't save your projects unless you spend the money for it, and it's $300 for the actual software. It's expensive, but it's really good.
Yeah. It depends on how serious you are about this one.
Yeah, I want to be serious. Like I just I got my first piano lesson today, so I'm hoping that I can do good. At least like I think the lessons with piano will help me with the MIDI keyboard because I can actually learn what is on the MIDI keyboard and what to play. So, but Chase, how have your lessons been doing with guitar and stuff?
They're not as easy because of Zoom, obviously. There's like a delay. So like it's a delay between the mics. So I'll be playing and then like 12 seconds later he'll start and I'll be like, it sounds off cue because he's like 1, 2, 3, go, and then like I'll do it and then he'll start and I'll be like, I'll mess up because I get really confused. It's rough. It's not easy doing Zoom classes for guitar.
How long has it taken you, Uncle Bob, to get to the point like with guitar? Like how easy or how long did it take you to at least grasp it? Like you could play some stuff.
You know, a year or two, you become a functional and worthwhile rhythm person, right? You're not not soloing like freaking Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen or anything, but you can come along a good way in 2 years for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What you have to do is learn how to read tablature, and you can actually kind of go on your own, right? So have you ever looked at tablature?
I don't think so.
I think I have actually.
So it's like it just tells you which fret that you should put your fingers on.
Yeah,
First
I was
fret,
looking at
second or third.
that for.
And that is, that's what you train yourself on, right? But I would say definitely get what I didn't have because I did it just myself. I didn't have any lessons. You definitely want to have some theory, right? Like you want to have someone who's explaining why the music sounds good, right? Like and point out like what the different scales are. And I had to figure a lot of that stuff out by myself. It's so much easier if you have a teacher, I think. So
Certainly.
I talked to Papa, or your dad, and my grandpa, and he has told me like that you have been baking a lot recently, and you're watching the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah,
so, he said that you're becoming quite the cook.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. No. I can. The show is really good, right? It's like it's a reality show that you like want to watch because the people are nice and they're not like trying to slit each other's throats.
Yeah, like MasterChef.
Right. They're so nice, and they make these like they bring together a couple of simple ingredients and they like do some sort of alchemy, and suddenly it's a freaking wedding cake. It's amazing, like what they can do with some sugar and a couple of marshmallows, right? Like it's unbelievable. And so I was like, I want some of that action. And so I can make a little bit of bread.
Little bit of bread. Hey, you're getting there.
Yeah. I made so I made regular bread. I made soda bread. I made a milk loaf. I made hot cross buns at Easter, which actually involved a lot of ingredients. And the big one is, and this is how you can tell that I'm a man of a certain age, I have a sourdough starter. I made sourdough the other day. That's apparently shameful.
Is it really good?
It smells a little bit like cider. But the bread was good. The bread was good.
So would you say that your food is good right now?
Yeah, it's all right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's trial and error. Like you follow the recipe, but the person who was doing the recipe had a different oven, and so you have to kind of like adjust for that. But you only know that once you mess up.
Yeah.
So I have had some pretty disastrous doughs, that like I didn't know what to do with them. They were just so sloppy. And you have to learn the techniques to manage it and cook it, right? Like, but it's been worthwhile. I've enjoyed it.
It's good. I wanted to ask this. What do you like to do in your free time? Like when you have nothing like else to do?
So Kerbal Space Program. Yeah, that's my jam.
Could you explain to like people who don't know like what it is really quick?
Okay, so KSP, have you guys played it? You've played it.
Yeah, I've played it. I have it on my Xbox.
Excellent. So what you do is you put these little green guys in rocket ships that you build, and you try not to kill them.
Yeah.
And you kill a lot of them. But it's like this. You set your own problems and then you try to solve them. And it's trial and error. And the game takes forever, right? Like if you are, let's say that you have an entire solar system that you're playing with, and you're launching these rockets into space. First, you have to get into orbit. Then you have to go from one orbit to another, and get to another planet. It uses the laws of physics, and you've got to understand what a transfer is, and how to do that, and how much delta V you need. It becomes really satisfying when you're able to land your little green guy on another planet and he doesn't splatter.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good feeling.
Me and Chase and I, we have a friend named Matthew, and he had like $15 to spend on Xbox, and I was going through games and what was featured and had deals at the time, and one of them, like I was just naming them off. I say Kerbal Space Program on the list I was naming off, and he's like, "Oh, I bought it," and I forgot to tell him that it uses real world physics, so I didn't know if he was actually going to be into it. And then he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It was $15. He spent his $15 on it. He plays it 3 minutes. He's off. He's never played it since."
Some people just can't be helped. You know,
he's the reason I have the game on my Xbox.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, but the thing is, you have to have time to play it because it takes a while.
Yeah.
Individual missions last. You have to. The game is designed so that you can speed it up by a factor of like 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how long space missions take, right? There is Kerbal Space Program 2 is coming out.
Oh wow. Yeah, I can see you're excited for that.
Yeah. It's not really buying a video game. It's like getting another job. You know, like where you run a space program on the side.
So, do you know when that comes out?
I think it's the summer. They've been
That's
hyping it. They've been hyping it.
good.
And I'm looking forward. It's a different group making it this time around, so they have to capture the essence of what made the first program so good. And this is going to be like space Kerbal Space Program Interstellar. It sounds like.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they'll have not only like models in the game of existing technology, but also future and speculative technologies as well. So it'll be fun.
Okay, that's awesome. Chase, you got anything else? Like any topics or questions? Really quick.
I actually do not.
All right. Here, let me see if I have anything else.
You should have callers, like people call in and ask questions.
I like the thing I have, Anchor. People are able to like message it, and then I can put it in the episode.
Mhm.
But no one messages it, so no one follows our Instagram, so we don't post on it. We don't say, "Oh, podcast coming out in 15 minutes or so."
We're irrelevant, to say the least.
So, really quick. How long did it take for Virtual Skeptics to gain like traction? Did it ever gain traction, or did you just do
it was pretty niche because we were live. One of the important that was something that we didn't realize was going to be a problem, right? If we couldn't make it, if we didn't have somebody who could run the board, then we didn't have a show that day. Mm-hmm. And so we had to depend on the goodwill of people who were willing to and sometimes like the person who was running the board would tell us maybe an hour before the show started, right? And so when you you're jerking your audience around is what you're doing. And so that was tough. So we did have a number of like people who were pretty hardcore, but it really did feel more like a bunch of friends getting together online. Okay. We recorded them and they're all still up at virtualskeptics.com, but
I will put that in the description of this podcast.
Cool. But it takes a while, and it takes hard work, and it takes consistency. I think that a lot of the better podcasts, if they're going to have a once a week podcast, they're going to do it every Monday. And if they're going to miss a Monday, they're going to record another one to release on Monday ahead of time.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the type of work ethic that makes a podcast work.
That's good.
Yep.
I think that's what we wanted to do with our other podcast that we had, the Misheard podcast. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. And we made a backup episode. We said this before, but we made a backup episode right when after the first one, because we wanted to make sure if we missed a day, we would put it up. We had to put it up the second episode. It was the second episode. And after that, we didn't do a single thing. But I'm just surprised because this podcast is now on its 13th episode, and it's been going for 2 months. We haven't seen any reason to stop. We haven't been demotivated. It's great.
It's fun.
Yeah. So, and also, what's awesome is that Anchor shows all your stats on where people where people are in the world that see it. We have a listener from Japan.
Hey, Japan, how are you doing, Japan?
Yeah, Japan. Hello, Japan. But I think that's pretty cool how people from around the world are able to listen to the podcast and stuff.
I can, I have friends all over the world who I can contact effortlessly. Can you imagine doing this 20 years ago? You couldn't think of it, I remember I had a girlfriend who lived in New York, and it just long distance phone calls, man. You couldn't call her all the time, and so we had this. Basically, it was like a CB radio that we used over AOL, and it was just like, so how are you doing, sweetie? Over. I'm doing fine. Over.
That must have been hard to do.
And I'm sorry, but this relationship is over. Yeah, it was. And only one person could talk at a time. It was, and so this, you can reach out and talk to somebody in the UK or in Germany or around the world. It really is a completely different landscape for communication.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right. Well, I think that's basically the end of the podcast here.
Excellent.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. And also, I forgot to do this in the middle of the episode, but we have an ad to put in, and I forgot to say it, so the ad will be put out at the end of this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, usually in the middle of podcasts we say, and we'll take an ad break, and then an ad will play for people. But we forgot to do that this episode.
Oh, okay.
So,
when you mix it, you say, and now we're gonna take a break for our sponsor.
Yeah, I could do that. Okay.
And then just paste it in. No one will know.
Yep, no one will know. Unless they listen to the end of this podcast, because I'm not.
In which case, they've peeked behind the curtain. They've seen how the sausage is made.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, and your Twitter and Virtual Skeptics YouTube channel will be linked down in the description below.
Cool.
Chase?
I think this was an amazing podcast. Thank you for coming on again. I can't say thank you enough. I think this was an amazing episode.
I've been talking about this episode for probably 4 weeks now.
Well, this is fun. I enjoy it. You guys have a good one.
Yeah,
you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.